Hey everybody, what's going on? This is K923, the video game professor, and I'm talking about pay-to-win MMOs today. There are many options, many problems, and much to discuss regarding pay-to-win elements in video games. What I'll look at and propose in this article is one angle and one solution. This is not the only solution, just an example of how I think MMOs can still be profitable and alluring without being labeled pay-to-win. So let's start with the following premise. People will always find a way to pay to win. The solution must shift the very nature of what winning means within the particular game. Before WoW tokens, the RMT market was powerful and expansive. Although still in existence, it's not nearly as strong as it used to be. Like all forms of prohibition, outlawing the exchange of real-world money for in-game benefits is doomed to fail. In order to hamstring the black market, game developers have simply gotten in on the racket, making it easier and safer to participate in the exchange. As industry leaders implemented marketplaces within their games, cash shops, and the trading of real currency, we're forced to accept that this is a dominant paradigm that isn't going away anytime soon. The question I pose for you is whether or not this is due to fundamental design flaw. Take gold selling, for instance. If having more gold faster made the game more enjoyable, is the problem gold? Is the problem the rate at which players acquire it? Is it what users can use the gold for? We would need to examine what the gameplay loop is on specific titles to understand this. If we continue to use World of Warcraft as an example, we would need to ask ourselves what gold is used for. So, 1. Purchasing items off of the auction house, whether it's gear or consumables. 2. Buying NPC vendor items of a low quality or value, or it could be high, like a mount or something, but not anything too crazy. Or 3, you can use it to purchase WoW tokens and thus subscription time, and I guess Destiny 2. As long as there's something valuable to achieve with gold, people will buy gold. This is simple economics. I mean, currency by itself often lacks any intrinsic value. Instead, we place value on it. If there was no auction house or player trading, the value of gold would decrease tremendously. You would still need it if you wanted to purchase a mount or repair your gear, but say instead of using gold, you used reputation or like tokens. Surely someone would find a way to sell reputation or sell those tokens, whether through like win trading or carries through dungeons. They'll figure it out. Whatever else would need to happen to earn the currency, you need to exchange for the product you want. Realizing this, it seems inevitable that a black market for currency will exist, and thus an impetus for developers to try and control this underground economy, which results in acquiring the business for themselves. But, there might be another way. You might be able to defeat the whole pay-to-win thing through design. World of Warcraft is designed to challenge you through boss encounters. These encounters are impossible without a baseline set of stats that are augmented by gear. By overcoming a boss, you're rewarded with more gear that makes below that tier easier while opening up access to harder bosses. This creates an infinite loop of progression through getting gear to fight bosses, to get better gear, to fight tougher bosses, and so on and so on. The victory is not defeating the boss, but getting the gear. I mean, have you defeated a particularly difficult boss and heard cheers over voice communication, followed by curses when what the boss dropped was displayed? Of course. I mean, you could defeat like the hardest boss, which gives you this great feeling of accomplishment, but it's like immediately killed when you realize like nothing that the boss dropped is useful for you. And so like that completely kind of like kicks the legs out from under that victory. You feel kind of crappy because now you have to wait a week to try to do it again, and hopefully at that point you'll get something from the boss. So, I mean, you don't really win through defeating the boss. Like, that's not the biggest sense of victory you get. The biggest sense of victory you get is getting that item that completes your set, or pushes your DPS up, or makes you tank better. Like, getting the gear is the goal line. That's what you want to do. The bosses act as just threshold guardians that keep you from getting there. So you get the gear so that you can better handle those threshold guardians, and again, the process keeps going on. So what if instead of gear and conquering those threshold guardians, you could be rewarded through like individual skill? Alright, now I'm talking like something similar to the challenge encounters from the Mage Tower in World of Warcraft's expansion Legion. Once a week, players have the opportunity to enter a solo instance to prove their skill at their class and game by winning an encounter tailored to their class and specific role, whether they're a healer, a tank, or DPS. And upon success, you're rewarded with an item that has no mechanical value whatsoever, but an aesthetic one. It looks cool, but it's also a trophy that tells the world that you as a player know what you're doing. You can play your class well, and you're very good at it. So what if you could expand this further? What if instead of learning spells as you leveled up, you have to prove yourself through some form of gameplay test? A system already used in many games for many years. Action and adventure games hide powerful items that alter the way your character is played behind boss encounters. Like if you've ever played Mega Man or Metroid or Castlevania or like any of those types, you know that you beat the boss and you get gear, which doesn't just up the stats that you have, but it gives you a new ability. Now you can shoot bubbles at your enemies. Now you can roll into a ball. Now you have a sword that like makes you invisible. I don't know if that's really a thing in Castlevania. I haven't played that shit in a long time. But the most powerful items are the reward for taking down an incredibly challenging boss. You still have the need to defeat the Threshold Guardian, but you get something that's more than just a stat bump. You get something that can change how you play, make it a little bit differently, or maybe it could just be like aesthetic. Now, I mean, there's a lot of flaws in this argument, I know. And you might be saying like, oh, well, we already kind of have this, it's not that different. I mean, legendaries can give you shit like that. Yeah. All right, no, I get that. I mean, like, that's why people raid, is to get stuff. You kill the raid boss, you get the loot, you do it again. But like the difference that I'm really talking about is that, you know, what if the games are designed to rely on a player to complete a challenge, like rely on their skill, not so much their ability to coordinate with 10 or 20 other people doing an elaborate dance of mechanics. But what if there was like something more than just that, you know, individual accountability where, you know, your skill as it is now is measured by whether or not you stand in the fire, whether or not you go into total tunnel vision mode. And it's really easy to defeat the bosses that we have in games like World of Warcraft right now. The problem is, what makes them difficult is you have like 20 people doing it at the same time, and the chance for someone to make like a small mechanical mistake is multiplied by 20. If one person makes a mistake, especially on the harder difficulties, that means everyone loses. So the difficulty of the boss is sort of artificial. It's not really like representative of your skill, but, you know, the skill of all of the other people not messing up. And you know, it could be a lag spike, it could be a disconnect, it could be a child crying in the background, but you don't get an accurate representation of how good you are, as well as you know, how good the group is. Another question people might have is like, well, if I get items that are just aesthetic from raid bosses, maybe people won't be raiding anymore. Maybe there's not as much a desire to do raid. But I don't think that's necessarily true at all. I mean, okay, well, do people pay money for a chance at Overwatch skins? Hell yeah, they do. Of course they do. People pay money for skins all the time. I mean, look at like CSGO. That's a world I'm not really a part of, the whole Counter-Strike thing. Like, I played that a long time ago, I suck, whatever. Irrelevant. Skins go for a lot of money and there is a demand for them. Alright, now Overwatch is intensely competitive, very popular, and no one accuses it of being pay to win, despite having like one of the most expensive cash shops that I've seen in a game. I mean, for a pay to play title to have like their loot crates be as expensive as they are, it's nuts. But they do a good job of it. The game's fun, it's engaging, super competitive, yet still accessible, great aesthetics. A casual player can enjoy it, a hardcore player can definitely enjoy it, and like, you know, you can enjoy it with your friends. It's a fantastic game. It works really well. No pay to win elements at all whatsoever, but you still have a sense of progression, and you still have a sense of, like, you know, desire to play, to get the loot boxes, to get the skins. Now, can you do the same thing with an MMO? Can you still have an MMO but not have it pay to win, but still generate money through aesthetics and cosmetics? I mean, I really think you can. So, like, just please, what I want you guys to do is, I want you to think about it, and think about what that game might look like, how that game might work. Maybe it already exists, and if it does, please let me know. I would love to play it. What if items of a mechanical value were achievable only through solo content? Not just the best gear, but any gear. What if the only way you could get stronger was by proving yourself? Not just grinding mobs or completing quests, but what if there were gateways that you had to get through? What if there were thresholds that you had to cross, like the Mage Tower in World of Warcraft? What if there were skill challenges that you had to do? This would probably mean fewer items, but I think it would have a much better reward, and I think it might provide a much better experience, all the while completely and utterly eliminating the need for a pay-to-win element. You still have a cash shop, you still have loot boxes, but now what you're selling is an aesthetic and not advancement. Alright guys, let me know what you think. Please hit me back in the comments below. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all that lovely social media stuff. You'll find that all in the description, and I hope to hear from you. If you like what you heard, hit the thumbs up. If you think it totally sucks, hit the thumbs down. Maybe I'm an idiot. Let me know. Downvote this. That's fine. And whatever you do, please subscribe. I will talk to you guys all later. This is K-Knight23, the Video Game Professor, signing out.